What did we learn yesterday?
We learned how to condense our code so it's easier to read and we don't have to write as many lines. That was awesome.
Yes. That principle is called DRY. Don't repeat yourself, or drying out your code. What else did we learn yesterday? Or what did we do yesterday? Maybe not necessarily maybe not limiting it only to what we learned.
We linked in a style sheet.
We linked in a style sheet. Yep. We have seen 3 different ways of getting our CSS working, right? We have our inline styles, that's the style equals. We have our style tag right at the top of the HTML. And now we are working our way up to using our external style sheet and being able to separate out our HTML and our CSS. So we'll be doing that for any new projects from this point rolling forward, of having that separated out, because that is considered an industry best practice. What else did we do yesterday?
Keep it simple, stupid, stupid, simple, something like that.
Keep it simple, stupid is definitely KISS, yes. Sometimes we like to overcomplicate things, or think that we need extra divs or extra classes, and we want to keep it as simple as possible because that's how the computer understands it best.
We learned about ID tags or classifications.
Yeah, so we used our CSS selectors. Those are often used with CSS classes in our HTML tags or our IDs. So getting more practice saying, hey, this is the thing that I'm trying to style. How can I tell my CSS this is what I want to apply it to? What else?
Have you put in today's outline?
It's probably in the schedule, but let me post it in Canvas. I probably forgot to hit the little publish button.
Meta bracket? No,
Meta tags?
meta tag, yeah. I was gonna
Yes.
say metadata.
It is actually metadata that we put in our meta tags, right? So more information about how the browser should show this page, the file encoding it should use, getting Internet Explorer to play as best as possible. That is all part of it. The day 3 outline just should have gone live in Canvas. If you want to refresh, you guys should have access to it now. Anything else from yesterday? Any concepts that we want to re-review before we dive back into the news site? Okie doke. So let me share my screen here. A couple quick reminders. Open Hack tomorrow. That is in person at Common Space downtown. Keep your eyes open for be on the lookout for the door code. I will post that in our Slack channel and the CIC student C4 channel. If you have RSVP'd on Meetup, you should also have it emailed to you. But I will post that in CIC student C4. If you run into any problems getting in, or the door code isn't working, or you don't know where you're headed, or you have a little anxiety and you need someone to talk you off a ledge, feel free to ping me, hit me up in Slack, and I'm definitely happy to address any of those concerns. I will try and get there a little early. I am not always the most on-person time, but I will try and get there a little early just in case you guys run into anything. You can park on the street. The meters turn off, I think, at 5:30 or 6, so you don't need to pay for parking. And there's normally plenty of parking in that area unless an event is going on, like at the Landmark or the On Center. So that will be great to see all of your faces. We are in a red zone on the CDC COVID map. So I recommend everyone wear a mask, but that certainly is not a requirement. No homework quiz this week, so some good news for you. Because this is such a short week, I didn't think it made a lot of sense to give you guys a quiz. So no quiz for you to complete. And before we dive in back to our news site, I wanted to do a quick overview of the weekend homework and also make sure that I published it. Yes, I did. Okay. So the homework is to build a form that looks like this. And so I have linked in these W3 school documentation. So if you take a look at this, you can see the code behind how to get a form to work. And if you click on the try it yourself, it's actually going to give you the breakdown of all of that code. And it's also going to show you kind of the code down here of what the form element does, what the input element does, how to get different types to show up, all of that kind of stuff. So a lot of programming is reading documentation and kind of self-teaching yourself how to pull this off. So we haven't actually gone over the input types yet or a form tag yet. So this homework is kind of unique because I'm giving you two options. If you feel like, yeah, I want to give that a try, I want to use VS Code, I think I can make that on my own, I'll read the documentation, I'll try it myself, you are welcome to do that. Or you can also complete this project in Free Code Camp. And what Free Code Camp is going to do is they're going to break it down into the 62 steps it's going to take to make this project. So you can start right at number 1. It's going to show you a preview of what we're going to build. You can hit start coding, and you can literally follow step by step what it's going to take in order to build this page. So over here, it says, welcome to the registration form. Start by adding the doc type declaration at the top of your document so the browser knows what it's reading. Okay, well, we just covered doc type yesterday, right? So you come down to the code over here, and you can get started by adding that doc type right at the top, right? Doc type HTML. And then when you hit check your code, it will say, congratulations, your code test passes, submit your code to continue. So we go, okay, submit. Now it says below, add the HTML with a lang attribute. Okay, so we add our HTML. And if I hit check your code, it's going to tell me, sorry, your code does not pass the test. Okay, well, they told me to add this lang attribute. So we say lang equals en, and we check our code. And it says it still doesn't pass. You're getting there. You're missing your closing HTML tag. So we come down, we add in our closing HTML, we check our code, and we move on. If you're someone who's going to get annoyed by saying, like, I don't need the 61 steps or however many it is, I just want to build this sucker, go into VS Code, go crazy, build it yourself. You can use Bootstrap if you want in VS Code. You cannot use Bootstrap in this in the Free Code Camp editor, but that's okay. You won't need it. So if you are someone who wants that step-by-step guidance and Free Code Camp to kind of give you those guide rails, you can complete the entire assignment in Free Code Camp. Or if you want to just hit the ground running, fire up VS Code and start going at it, grid out our mock-up, kind of identify what your plan is going to be, and then start approaching it that way.
I just have a question. How did you get to this website?
If you are in Canvas and open up the week 3 homework, it is the first link. The second link is the mock-up or screenshot. And the third link is documentation to the forums at W3 schools. Anyone have questions about the weekend homework?
So I'm sorry, if you were, can you press that W3 schools? Because mine shows up as, okay. Yep, it shows up the same.
This top one is how you get to Free Code Camp.
Gotcha. Thank you.
As always, if questions pop up, feel free to hit me up on Slack. I had a student hit me up today, said, hey, I know your Calendly's booked out. Do you have a couple minutes? Not a problem. Happy to jump in a call that way. So if you have questions while you're working on this project, Or if you get stuck somewhere, it is okay to move on to the next step. You don't necessarily have to follow all 62 steps in here. If you're stuck on 12 and you're like, can't get 12 to work, don't know why it's not working, don't be afraid to go ahead and move on and try working on the next thing. The other thing that I will encourage you guys to do is go ahead and create an account. Free Code Camp is, as its name implies, completely free. And as you're working on your projects, it will save your progress as you go. So it's a good idea to go ahead and create an account just in case you get distracted or you close the tab or, you come back to it and you're like, where did all my code go? So creating an account before you get started on this is a good idea. But if you want to take the VS Code approach and just do that, that is also totally fine. Christina, go ahead.
Isn't Free Code Camp where we were doing some of the pre-admission assignments? So we should already have an account, right?
That was not at Free Code Camp. That was at Code Academy.
Oh, you're right. Okay, yep, okay. My bad.
But I have assigned some optional homework assignments in Free Code Camp. So it is totally possible that you do already have an account. And when you go to sign in, you can also sign in with GitHub if you want, and you should already have a GitHub account from your student pack. So you can either enter your email and they'll email you a code, or you can sign in directly with GitHub. Just remember which one you did, because then if you need to sign back in and sign in with a different one, then you panic and you're like, where did everything go? So whatever one you sign in with, just remember which one you use. Anything else? Okay. Sorry, I am going to pull up my code and get started. So I am going to open up my VS Code. When my VS Code opens up, I should have, give me a second on the other monitor. Ooh. Okay, now I've got what I needed here. Okay, so it should have opened up into my day 2 folder, but we're not on day 2. We are now on day 3. So one thing that I recommend you do that you don't necessarily have to do is copy your code into a new folder so we can track the progress day over day. And so that when you go back and reference this code, it makes it easier to kind of see what day you are in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Finder. I'm going to go to Desktop. I'm going to go to my C4 My Code folder. I'm going to open up week 3. And then I'm going to right click on day 2. If you're using your trackpad, that's a 2-finger click. And I'm going to go down to the duplicate option. Once I duplicate it, I'm going to get a D2 copy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename this to day 3. Now, if you were not following along yesterday, or you fell a little bit behind and you want to start with my code so that you can follow along today, that's completely fine. What I'm going to do is in the live stream folder, I'm going to send a copy of my code if you would rather use my code as a starting point. So what you can do is go ahead and download that zip file. That's going to show up in your downloads folder. So if I'm in Slack, I can hit this little download icon here, and you only need to do this step if you want to use my code. If your code is up to date and you want to keep going on that, the duplicate option is completely fine for you. If you want to use my code as a starting point, you can head over to Slack, hover over the D3 and hit the little download icon, the arrow in the cloud. Save that into your downloads folder. Then we can move Slack out of the way. Grab this D3 zip from the downloads folder and drag it over into our week 3 folder. And then just double click on it to open it. And that will make the D3 folder for us. Alba, go ahead. Did you have a question, Alba?
Sorry, my screen went away. My live share says reload required.
That's fine. I have to generate a new link. So just close out of the live share because the link will change every day.
I'm not in the live share yet. It's just saying that in the, there was like a number 1 on the little 4 square area.
Okay.
Clicked on it, it said reload required.
Did it give you a reload button?
Yeah.
So if you click reload, it should reload itself and then that problem should go away.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Agonza, go ahead.
Hi. Are you on live share?
No, I've not started the live share yet.
Okay, that's all.
I
I
will
wanted
do
to
that in 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Jordan, go ahead.
I'm sorry, would you mind going through that again? Our fire alarm started going berserk, so I had to take it off the wall.
Are you starting with my code or starting with your code?
I was gonna start with my code from yesterday, I suppose.
Cool. Yep. So what you're going to do is go to Finder down at the bottom.
Yep.
Go to desktop.
Yep.
Make your way to my code week 3. And in day 2, you can right click and hit duplicate. And then you are going to right click on this and go down to rename. And then you can rename that to day 3.
Okay.
All right. From there, and this is not review, this is new for everyone. We are going to go to File up at the top and down to Open Folder. We are going to pop open our day 3 folder and then hit Open. And remember, we should be in Open Folder. VS Code would much rather you open a folder than the individual files. Now, if we have everything set up right, we should see the D3 up here at the top. And when we click on Go Live, we should, in our browser, get a page that looks like this. Now, this is because we called our file news.html instead of index.html. So the live share, the live server is like, well, what one would you like me to show? So if we click on news.html there, it should bring us to where we left off yesterday. From there, I'm going to drop the live share.
Am I still unmuted? My bad.
Oh, you're fine. To join the live share, I'm going to go into my VS Code. I'm going to go File, New Window. I'm going to click on the live share icon over on the left-hand side, not the bottom one down here, the one on the left-hand side here. I'm going to click the Join button, and then it's going to pop this up at the top. Ignore this joining collaboration session. It needs to know what session to join. So I'm going to go in Slack. I'm going to right-click on that link and hit Copy Link. Then I'm going to go back to VS Code, and I'm going to paste the link and hit Enter. If that brings you in, great. If it doesn't, pay attention to the bottom right. And so go ahead and click on Continue as Anonymous. And that should bring you into my live share where you're able to get access to the news file. Last setup thing we're going to do is in my files here, I'm going to open up my news.html, but I'm also going to open up my style. So if you double click on it, it will open them in 2 new tabs. I'm going to take this tab and drag it over here to the right-hand side so that I can see my CSS while I am working on my HTML. And then I'm going to click on this little file icon here, and that's going to move my files out of the way. We don't need to be working on our files right now. We won't need that until we go start working on some images. So if you do need to bring that back at any point, you can just click on the files and it will pop it back. But if we've got all of this set up, we get a little bit more screen real estate by getting that file explorer out of the way. Archerelle, go ahead.
Can you do that one more time so I can see the style and the
Yep.
HTML side by side, please?
So in the Explorer, I'm going to go ahead and double click on news.html to open it. I'm going to double click on style.css to open it. And then I'm going to grab my style.css tab and drag it to where I want it to show up, which is over here on the right-hand side. Once you get that rectangle to be on only half the screen, which you can do by getting the your mouse kind of over on the right-hand side about halfway down the screen, it should snap it into the right side of the screen.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
I believe the other way you can do it is, yeah. So if you've got, if you have your news.html open, you can go ahead and click on this icon up at the top that says split editor right. And then you can double click on style.css and it will open it over on the right-hand side. That's this split editor right button.
Where was that?
Split editor right up here in the top right. But I prefer doing that dragging method. I think the dragging method is a little bit easier to split things out.
Okay.
Christina, go ahead.
You showed me how to join live share again?
Yep.
Thank you.
File, new window. Live share over on the left-hand side here. Click the join button. Then go over to Slack.
Nope, mine's saying I have to restart to update, sign in, GitHub, Microsoft. New code available.
Share your screen.
Oh, my bad. Hold on.
Hit cancel in the bottom right. Click on the live share on the left-hand side. Nope.
Oh, where?
Live share over on the left-hand side.
Right here?
This one.
Oh.
Never, ever, ever do we want to use that live share down there.
Oh, okay.
Now you can hit join. Continue as anonymous. Type in your name up here and hit enter, and then it will let you paste in the link. So that you need to go get the link from Slack and copy it and paste it in there, and then you'll be good to go.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to roll forward here. I need to pull up my mockup. So in order to get to that, I don't think I linked to it into, oops. I don't think I linked to it in today's outline. Let me see if I did. Of course I didn't. So I'm going to go back to our day 2 outline. I'm going to grab that link for you guys and put it over in today's under resources. But I should still have it downloaded from yesterday. So if I go down to my downloads folder, I've got my news website desktop.png, and this is all the gridding out that we did yesterday, right? So we left off up here. We've got our two div class rows. That's for our header section and our our top link section. And I can go over to my code and review that. We've got a row here, and we've got our columns inside of it. Then we ended that nav bar row, but still inside of the container fluid, we have another row here, and then we've got our section. So what we need to do is we are going to build out our latest section next. So in order to do that, it's very easy to say, oh, I got my column here. I'm going to just start working in that column. But that's not the case. We've got this mega giant row that is holding the 3 columns that we are working on. So before we can use that column here, we need to put the big row that is going to hold all of those columns. So keep in mind that you cannot have a column that spans multiple rows, but you can make a row the entire size of this area by just keeping on adding things to a column. And that's going to make the column and the row just automatically grow to the size that we need it to. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to my code. And I'm going to say div class equals row. And again, I need to be really careful where I'm putting this. I'm putting this at the same level that my other 2 rows are at. I'm putting it at this level of indentation. Sorry. Okay. Now that I've got that row set up, I need to determine the column size. So I'm in here, and the columns that I'm going for are these really tall 3 red columns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out my layout, and I'm going to say div class col 3, and I'm going to say first col. Then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to add my div class equals col 6, and I'm going to say that's my middle col. And then finally, I'm going to do one final col 3, and that's going to be my right col. So I come back over to my browser, maybe. And I look at my news site, and I get my first col, I get my middle col, and I get my right col. Now, this is looking the way we want it to, but it's kind of hard to tell where our columns begin and end. So if we look at our mockup and zoom in, you see that nice light little line there? That's kind of separating out the different sections for us and making it a little bit more visible as where one column begins and another column ends. So to pull that off, we are going to add a style to our columns. But we need to be able to apply our styles to a specific column. So what we're going to do is we're going to add an ID on this one, and we're going to call it left col. Now, some of you guys have been learning the hard way that these IDs are case sensitive. So what we do in programming when we don't want to use a space, we do something called camel casing, where the entire first word is lowercase, and then any words that come after that, where a space would normally go, we uppercase the first letter that we're typing in. So camel casing is very common in JavaScript. We also use something called snake case. which is more common in CSS, but whenever I name things, I'm going to be using Camel Case, which means the first word is all lowercase, and then any preceding words after that, if there are any, the next letter gets uppercase. So you see I do that with active link, the L gets capitalized. You see that in links bar, the B gets capitalized. So you really want to be paying attention to that. It's not just a matter of, oh, follow along with Max. He has a capital C, so I need a capital C. As long as this selector matches whatever the selector is over here, it will work. But the reason why we're uppercasing that C is because we can't do something like this. That is not valid CSS. So the way we get around that is by putting a capital C instead, which makes it easier to tell those two words apart. So over here, I can now target my left column. And in my left column, I can add a border on the right of it that's 1px solid gray. So I come back over to my browser and I have that tiny little line there. Okay, well, why is it so tiny? Well, let's play around with that a little bit. What happens if I take my first column, add a line break, and say, this is more text? Well, now my border is a little bit bigger, so that border is growing, but I want that border to go all the way down to the bottom of the page. Okay, how am I going to pull that off? Well, we're going to get a little fancy there, and we're going to do the math to figure that out. So we want our height to basically be the entire height of the screen. So if I go to my left col, I can put a height on this and say I want the height to be 100 VH. That stands for viewport height. This entire white area on my browser is the viewport height. So I said 100 VH, and now I'm there. My line goes all the way down, but I've got a scroll bar. Okay, that's less than ideal. Why am I getting a scroll bar? Does anyone have any ideas?
Can you point out where again, please?
Yeah, over here on the right, I've got my scroll bar up and down.
Have you, no, never mind.
Is there content below the window or the viewport?
Nope, nothing down there.
Is it smaller than 100?
It needs to be smaller than 100. Why?
The view height must be smaller because of at the top, I'm assuming, the border and stuff at the top.
Bingo. We've got our nav bar up here and our top links bar, and all of that takes up space. So what we need to do is we need to tell our CSS to do a calculation and say that this column should be 100% of the viewport height minus the height of this bar and this bar up here. So what we can do is we come over here and we say, hey, we're going to do a calculation. We're going to say it's going to be 100 VH. It's going to be 100% of the viewport height minus, and these spaces are really critical. CSS is really fickle about doing calc. It needs a space on either side of that minus sign. And we're going to just take a guess. We're going to say 100 PX. So I hit save on that. I come back over to my code. And now, oh, there's no way I guessed that spot on. I'm going to say 150 PX. Okay. There, now I've got my bar showing up, but it's not directly at the bottom of the screen. So obviously we could come back over here and fiddle with this number until that bar reached right at the bottom of the screen. But there's got to be a better way of doing that, right? There's got to be some way to be able to measure in the browser how big that bar is. So in order to do that, what we do is we right click here and go down to the inspect tools. These are the tools built into the browser. I am realizing I have not asked you guys to download Chrome yet, and that's a major mistake. So I'm going to take a pause here. If you have not downloaded Chrome yet, this is your opportunity to do so. If you are in Safari, you can go up to the top and just do a search for download Chrome. You can hit download Chrome here and allow. That is going to get Chrome downloading in the background. If you already have Chrome, you do not need to follow these steps, but if you have not downloaded Chrome yet, you can open up that DMG image. And then, as tempting as it looks to double click on this, you do not want to open the application from there. You want to grab the application and drag it into this applications folder. If it says an older item already exists, you can go ahead and hit stop. You already have Chrome installed. Once you have that copied in there, you can close out of this window from here, go to Finder, and go to your applications folder, which is going to be over here on the left. Scroll down till you find Google Chrome, pop that open. And then if it asks you to make it the default browser, you want to go ahead and switch over to that.
Oh my goodness. Can you go over just the last few steps, please?
Yeah. So do you have it downloaded down here at the bottom?
I do.
Okay. Click on that. It's going to pop it open here. Then all you're going to do is grab Chrome here and drag it into your applications folder.
Got that. Okay.
Then close out of this window and go to Finder and Applications, and then go ahead and find Google Chrome and open it from your applications folder.
You know, I have it. I just can't figure out which window is open.
So if you double click on Chrome, it should bring that to the active window.
All right.
Max, mine, when I press go live and update my visual code, it shows up in Safari and it doesn't show up. I'm sorry. What is this? This is Safari? Yeah.
So if you're in Chrome,
Mm-hmm.
up at the top, you should be able to go to Chrome and then down to Preferences.
Okay.
And then in here, if you do a search for default browser, does it say Chrome is your default browser?
No, it says make default. So you want me to make it default? Okay.
Yep. Go ahead and do
Perfect.
that. And that now when you go live in VS Code, you may need to stop it and restart it, but it should bring you into Chrome.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Does anyone need help or want to go into a breakout room with Mel?
Quick question.
Yes.
All right, so you want all of us to jump into Chrome now?
Go ahead and go into Chrome now. If it's not already your default browser, you can go to Chrome up at the top and down to Preferences here. Then do a search up at the top for default browser, or you can just click on default browser over on the left-hand side here. If it says Chrome is your default browser, you're good to go. If it doesn't, go ahead and click the Make Chrome your default browser button.
And then after that, are we still doing
You can stop your live share in VS Code and restart it, and it should open your code over in Chrome now.
okay. All right, I'll give it a shot. Thank you.
Christina, go ahead.
I'm still trying to get live share.
Okay, I'm gonna put you into a breakout room with Mel. Oh, hold on. I screwed something up. Okay, good to go on that. Any other questions? We all get Chrome installed. We all go to back to VS Code. We stop the live share and restart the live share. It should bring us over into Chrome. Sorry, that was a detour. I should have had you guys set up Chrome at the beginning of class, and I completely forgot about that. Okay, so now if we go up to the top here in our live share code, right click and go down to inspect, we get all of these cool developer tools. And if we start hovering over this different code here, we can see it highlighting up at the top what divs we're hovering over. And we can actually click on this little triangle and keep on opening pieces of our code. And if we hover over that, we can see the little pieces of our code that it's highlighting. And
How do
when
look
we,
at that?
if you right click and go to inspect, then down, oh, yours may be open on the right hand side. If you would like to move it, you can hit these three little dots. And I like mine personally at the bottom. I always leave mine on the bottom. If you prefer it over on the side, that's okay. But if you start hovering over these areas, you'll see it kind of highlighting that section of the code. So I'm going to move mine back down to the bottom. That's where I prefer to personally be. But
Right click on it and then hit inspect.
yes,
I don't see that option. I'm sorry. It's open in Chrome, I believe. Yeah, it's open in Chrome. No, that's Safari. Never mind. That's why. Also fair.
And how did you get your elements window? The bottom?
the three dots over by the X for closing it, and then moving the dock side to the third option.
There it is. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to use our dev tools a lot, right? And I know that there's a ton of stuff in here. I probably know how to use about 10% of these dev tools. So I don't want you guys to feel like this is overwhelming. It is overwhelming. That's just, we are going to work our way into these dev tools and learn to like our error messages, because our error messages are going to help us figure out where the problem actually is. But what we're going to do is we're going to go up to this row and we're going to click on it. Then what we're going to do is, do you see on my screen, it says div navbar row 1280 x54? That is under the menu CIC news sign in. So towards the top, I actually can't move my mouse to it because then it's going to disappear. So right above the word first col, this is more text. Up at the top part of my screen, it says div navbar row 1280 by 54. That's telling me that this navbar is 1280 pixels wide by 54 pixels tall. Now I'm going to move down to the links bar, and it's going to tell me that it's 45 pixels tall. So, and I'm seeing that, it's not going to let me, yeah, I'm seeing that right under the word menu. So if we know this one's 54 pixels tall, and we know this one is 45 pixels tall, that must mean that I can say 45 plus my 54, and that gets me to 99 pixels. So what's going on, Jennifer?
Sorry. I mean, I see what you're looking at. I see what I'm looking at. I'm not seeing all that information. All I'm seeing is a doc type and the HTML opening and closing with some stuff in between.
So you need to use your arrows to go ahead and pop open the different sections of the code.
Okay.
And then once you get to that row with the ID of navbar, if you hover over it, it will show you up towards the top where that div actually is in the page and the size of it right underneath it in that pop-up.
711 by 102.
Yes.
Okay.
So mine is 54 on this nav bar, and it's 45 on the links bar for the height. Arturo.
I'm sorry, Max. I'm completely lost right now.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen.
All right.
Okay, go ahead and close out of settings.
Okay.
In your VS Code, stop the live share down in the bottom right where it says port 5501 or the live server.
Okay.
And then go ahead and go live again. That's going to open us in Chrome because we've got our default browser set up now. If you right click on the blue bar area and go down to inspect, that's going to open up our dev tools for us. Now, I prefer our dev tools down at the bottom. So I'm going to hit the 3 dots between the gear and the X on the right-hand side in the top right. Yep. And then choose the 3rd option there, the one with the rectangle at the bottom. Yep. Okay. Now, if I go down to the div class row ID nav bar down in the bottom about halfway through that window.
The div
row ID nav bar.
right there.
Yep. That is telling you that your nav bar row is 1200 pixels wide by 102 pixels tall.
Where do I see those numbers, or should I see those numbers?
Yep. You see them. Leave your mouse back to where it was. You see those numbers right here.
Yes, I see them now. Okay.
And so if you put your mouse now over this links bar area, you'll see that this one is 45 pixels tall.
Okay.
So you've got an issue going on with this column right here. You've got col dash text center.
Okay.
The dash should not be here. That should be a space. The dash should be here. It's text dash center.
Okay.
So if you fix that, this blue area will look the way it's supposed to.
All right. So in my nav bar section, call. Okay.
Take that that dash out and make it a space, and then put your dash in there. And if you go ahead and save that, now you're back up to speed here. And if you put your mouse over that nav bar, you're going to see it's the 54 pixels, the same one that it is on mine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh. So I understand all of that, but I don't have a middle. I don't have a line going down the first column.
That's fine. We'll come back to that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, so if I understand it right, then we're taking like mine was 711 by 102 and then something over 101 over 45.
Yep.
So we're putting the calculation, right? 102 VH minus 45 pixels.
Minus whatever the other one is as well.
Okay.
So if I'm in here,
Mhm.
I'm going to say 100 VH minus the 54 pixels.
We don't
of-
see your screen.
Thank you. I'm going to say the height of this left column is going to be 54 pixels. So we take 100% of the screen, we minus 54, and if I come over here, I still have a scroll bar. Because I haven't also gone in here and taken out the links bar, which is another 45 pixels. So I can do 100 VH minus the 54 of that top nav bar minus another 45 of the links bar. And now notice our scroll bar is gone, and that gray line is the exact length of the screen that I'm looking for. And no scroll bar over on the right. Agonza, if you don't have a border, you
I
want
don't,
to
yeah,
one, make sure that this left col is here. Make sure your ID left col is over here.
yep,
Make sure that your C is capitalized here and here.
yep.
And then make sure you've got your border right 1px solid and your height.
I literally have all of that.
Okay, share your screen. Scroll over on your style a little bit. Your BR, that closing slash on 35. On line 35, the slash should be on the other side of the BR, but I don't think that's actually causing your problem.
You mean right here?
Yeah.
No.
Self-closing tags, the slash goes at the end. Let me see what it looks like in the browser. Okay,
What is it?
let's try this. Let me request remote control.
Oh, sorry, I pressed on this.
Oh.
1 second.
Okay. Sometimes the live server gets a little funky because I don't see anything wrong here. So let me stop it and restart it.
This is so slow.
Go to news. Where's your column?
I don't know. I was like, I think I got everything right. I didn't. Maybe that.
No, that won't cause the. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. News. Inspect. Mel says line 32. Mel, am I missing something?
Yeah, it doesn't look like the ID for left call should be under the call 3 on line 33.
Oh, good call. This ID is in the wrong spot. It needs to be on the column.
Okay.
There you go. And
Thanks,
now
Mel.
just adjust that minus number here and it will be the right height. Thank you, Mel.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Coding can definitely be a team sport. If you guys see an error before I do, feel free to call it out. Okay, I'm going to stop here and do a quick poll. Where are we at? Do we have our, I will share my screen. Do we have our gray border going down the side of the screen? Do we understand the inspect tools? Just a tiny little bit to get the size in there. Anyone need help? Go ahead and raise your hand. We can definitely help you through it. Nyesha, go ahead.
I also don't have that gray little line going
Okay.
down. Low.
Share your screen. Let's take a look.
Is that the right one?
It is. Go ahead back to your code for me. And you got to be really careful. You've got a capital C here and a lowercase c here.
Okay, so which one do I change?
The right one, because it's better to have camel case. Whenever we have another word, so col being a second word, we want to capitalize it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you're good to go.
Thank you.
Jordan, go ahead.
Once again, we had maintenance coming through here, so we just missed a portion of the inspect tools, like the ending portion of it.
Okay, so once you open inspect, you get the three, you can just hover over. Once you have inspect open, you can hover over this down at the bottom. And when you're hovering over a row up at the top of the screen, it's going to say on my screen, it's 1280 by 54. That's showing us the size of that div. And then if you go down to the links bar, it's 1280 by 45.
Oh.
That's showing us the size. So we use that information over here on the right to say, I want the left column to be 100% of the vertical height minus 54, which is the height of the top nav bar, minus 45, which is the height of that second links bar.
Okay.
And because of that, now we have no scroll bar because it's properly doing the math.
Right. Also, how do I get that bar at the bottom again?
The three dots over here on the right between the gear and the close, and then dockside is this one down here.
Nice. Okay, thank you.
Yep, Artrell.
Yeah, I'm just needing time to catch up, but I do have a question though.
Yes.
So if my live share is still correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
On your side, row 39,
Mm-hmm.
it says middle call. Should that C in call be lowercase or uppercase?
Doesn't matter because that's just the content. That's the words that are showing up in the page.
Got it. Okay, so 34, 39, and 42, the COL can be any case at once.
Yeah, we're actually going to delete them out. That's kind of just our placeholders, so we know where the columns start and end.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna just take time to finish catching up with my style.
Cool.
Thank
Schneider, go ahead.
This is like a question for way down the road, but do you think after we get used to JavaScript and whatnot, we can go back and make these interactive?
So think about interactive as when you go to the NewYorkTimes.com, right? What is interactive about their website?
I'm pretty sure there's nothing interactive about their website.
And so that's what you want to think about is like, we don't want to bring interactivity into a web page that doesn't need to be interactive. However, you can kind of start to push those limits and say, well, what if I want someone to be able to comment on an article? Okay, now we bring in that interactivity. Okay, well, if they're going to comment, we need a place to store that. That's going to be a database. Well, in order to get a database working, we've got to build our API. Okay, now we need Node for that.
Okay.
So that's kind of the goal of your capstone is we work our way up to you being able to bring these concepts into your own project and have the ability to practice them. With that said, we do revisit a lot of projects that we build when we have new concepts and languages and stuff available to us. So while we won't come back to the new sites in particular, on Monday, we'll dive into responsive concepts of how do we make this look good on a mobile phone. So we will keep working on this news project. We won't be doing the back end and interactivity stuff on this one in particular, but don't worry, we've got plenty of other projects for bringing in that interactivity.
I got you. Thank you.
Yep. Other questions? Christina, go ahead.
I'm trying to go live so I can see it. And it's saying open a folder or workspace, file, open folder.
Okay, so you opened the individual file instead of opening the folder that the files are in. So we never, ever, ever want to go to file open in VS Code. We always want to go to file open folder, open the right folder that it's in, and then you'll be able to go live.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we keep going here? Archel, go ahead.
All right, I'm caught up with my code.
Okay.
but I'm not seeing like the lines on the side. Should I get rid of my inspect?
Share your screen. Let's take a look.
Okay.
Whenever we have our code done and we don't see it in the browser, the first thing we should do, check for that dot.
I did it on the style and not the HTML.
Yep.
Okay, I got to do it on both.
Yes.
All right, so I did the save.
And you're all
Okay.
caught up.
All right, am I keeping the inspect open?
You can if you want, or you can get rid of it. It's always one right click, inspect, open away. So if you want to get rid of it, you can. We won't be using it anymore, but the inspect tool will definitely be coming back as we're working on our code to figure out what the browser is showing.
All right, so I just did the right click, and how do I get rid of it?
Oh,
Hide
I'm
element?
sorry. That's how to open it, you right click and inspect. To close it, there's a close button right here. Top right of that pane.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna mute the screen. Show me again.
Right here.
Oh, see, our pictures are covering that.
Gotcha.
So where it says update.
No, it's the close button in the top right of the pane.
Oh, right next to the settings icon.
Yes.
Okay,
And that will get rid of it.
got it. Thank you.
Okay. Gonna keep rolling forward here. So now we've done all of that work to get that one pesky little line to show up. Now we can start loading up our content. So in the first call, I'm going to go ahead and delete all of this out, and I'm going to go look at my mockup. And we've got a pretty big thing that says latest. For that, we're going to use our H3 element, H2 element. Every time you go down a size, it gets a little bit smaller. And we're going to put the word latest in there. Then we go back to our browser and we see the word latest shows up. Okay, that's good. That looks just like our mockup. What's next? Next up, we've got this 6 minutes and headline 1. Okay, well, now we run into a problem. We've got a column here and a row here. I'm sorry, a column across the whole area and 2 columns here. Well, whenever we put in a new div class row, it's going to break up our 12 and reset it to take up whatever the width is here. So we don't need to worry about this being part of this bigger grid system. When we put in that div row, it goes, all right, reset the 12. How many do you want to show up here? So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, we're going to put in a div class row. Inside of that row, there is going to be a col3 that says 6M. It's meant to be like 6 minutes ago. And then we're going to do another div class, col9, because everything's always based off of 12. And we'll put an H4 in there that says headline 1. We come back over here and we have our 6 minutes and our headline 1. Okay, that's good. We could just copy and paste this code, but we want to get practice getting our cursor in the right spot and typing out all of the syntax. So I'm going to say the row ends here. I know it ends there because if I click on the div, this div is highlighted up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave myself a note that says this is the end of headline row number 1. I'm then going to come back down here. And now I've got div soup going on, right? There are divs all over the place. So I really need to be careful here. What is this div closing out? It's closing my col3 of the left column. So maybe I want to come down here and add a comment that says end of left col. Now that makes it a little easier for me to say, okay, I'm going to do another div class row. And when that closing tag is in there, before I even put anything in there, I'm going to add my comment that says end headline row number 2. And then I'm going to follow the exact same format. I'm going to do a col 3, which means whatever is in here is going to line up in my design. So I'm going to say 2 hours ago. And I'm going to do a div class col 9. That says grid systems are cool. And to get just the last bit of practice, I'm going to add my third div class, again, making sure that it is all lining up here and that my rows are lining up. I've got comments on the end that says end of headline row number 3. And I'm going to do my final div class col 3 here. That says let's say 3 days. And we'll add in my H4 that says old headline. So I come over here and whoops, made a little bit of a mistake. Everything here is all lining up. That's great. But everything over here, this isn't the same size, right? So we go back to our code and we realize I've got an H4 and an H4, but this one, I forgot that H4 tag. So I go ahead and grab that, put it into place, and now I have my final output over here. So this is what we are shooting for. I'm going to leave this up on the screen and start a poll and let you guys catch up a little bit. If you're still working, don't vote in the poll. If you are lost, go ahead and raise your hand and we can help you. If you're working on it, that's totally fine. Just wait. And if you're along for the ride and you need, you can go ahead and just vote in the poll if you're just following for notes and say no, but keep going. Anyone needs help, don't be afraid to raise your hand.
We just need some time with the code because you went pretty fast.
No problem. So the beauty of the poll is I can see 12 of you guys are voted in, which means, and I was getting like 15 or 16 before. So that means, all right, a couple of you guys are still working on it. So take your time. And just a friendly reminder for anyone who is going along for the ride, this is where you should be catching up on your notes and still be asking any questions, right? So if you don't understand why we did it the way that we did, or what a particular character is doing, or how we're saying on top of the div indentation, or anything like that, feel free to raise your hand. Exona, go ahead.
Did you just say my name right?
I am in my downtime going through the
Oh my
W2
goodness.
form. I promise I will get better. And if I say any of your name wrongs, I know it's really frustrating, but keep on calling me out on it and I will promise to get better at it.
Okay, well, thank you for saying it right. So just to recap, just so I think I understand it.
Yeah.
So within. Okay. So within the row, the left row, you have,
The left call.
yes, the left call. What does it say row? Did I say? Where am I right now? Yes, okay, yep. So within the left column, you have 1, 2, 3 rows.
Yes.
And each row has its own column, column 3 and column 9.
Correct.
Okay, that's it. I just wanted to reiterate that just so it.
So let me try and do a visual here. It's gonna end poorly, but I'm gonna try it anyway. This div class row that has all of this stuff in it is this big row right here. Then we go in to our div col 3. That is this col right in here. Then we have our col 6, which lines up with our middle col here. And we've got our col 3 that lines up with our right col here. Obviously, these are not lines drawn to scale. Okay, then we've got our H2. This tiny little H2 lines up with this latest right here. Then we have a row here that lines up with the entire row in here. And inside of that row, we have a col 3 that lines up with this col 3 here. And we have a col 9 here that lines up with the col right here. I apologize immensely if any of you are colorblind. We did have a colorblind student in the second cohort, and none of these drawings made any sense to them because they couldn't color coordinate the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen because they all look the same. So I apologize if the colors are not accessible to you, but hopefully that is helpful to understand that we're breaking down every time we're in between those div tags. That's controlling the layout of how it shows up on the screen. And if anyone else understands this, but in a totally different light, don't be afraid to come off mute and say how you see it. And I'm happy to weigh in there or say, yeah, that's another way of thinking about it. Christina, go ahead. Tina, did you have a question?
My bad. On row 36, yeah, there's a couple things that are red and I can't figure out why.
Okay. Any questions before I clear the screen? Does anyone want a screenshot of this before I clear it? If you do, hit Command Shift and 3, and it will take a picture of the whole screen. Oh, I can also save it. Let me see. Go ahead and share your screen, Tina, and I will come back to you in 1 second. Okay, you've got a double quote on line 35 to open the class and a single quote on 35 to close it. You need 2 doubles.
Okay, I see it. Thank you.
Yep. Oftentimes when you start seeing red, it's important to not look where the red starts, but the line above it. And sometimes that makes it a little bit easier to find the problem. Jennifer, go ahead.
Hey, I'm just trying to compare some of the code because I had some stuff on there and now it's all disappeared.
Okay, you want to share your screen?
Oh, yes, please. Let's see. Still have to figure out how to share my screen because everything's smaller. There it is. All right. I'll do desktop 2. Right?
Impossible to say. This is your code that we see.
Yep.
It's
my code. And I saw a few problems with where my divs lined up.
Okay, nothing is immediately jumping out to me. Can I see what it looks like in the browser?
Yes. I can figure out how to get there. Wow, what do you see right now?
Your 2 VS Code windows. 2.5 VS Code windows.
Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna switch windows?
Well, you can grab your Chrome window and drag it over here if you want, but before you do that, I noticed you've got a dot right here.
Oh, I don't even see. I have a style. Okay.
Yep, right there. You just have to hit Command S.
All right, cool.
And now if you can grab your Chrome window where your code is showing, or where the running version of your code is showing, and drag it over to where your two VS Code windows are, I'll be able to see it. Yes, perfect.
Okay, I couldn't find the bar. I was like, I don't know.
Okay, so we've got some problems going on in that first section. So let's take a look at that first. What I'm really confused about though,
I had this, like, this looked like yours did a few steps ago.
okay, let me request remote control. So I notice we've got a couple of them open here, and that may be causing confusion. So I'm going to close all three of them.
Right.
I'm going to stop the live share down at the bottom, and I'm going to go live again. Then the problem here is that you're not open in the day 2 or the day 3 folder. You're open in the week 3 folder. So what we want to do is in here, instead of opening the week 3 folder, we want to open just the day 3 folder. So we're going to go File, Open Folder.
Yeah.
We're going to open up that W3 and the day 3 and hit Open. Now we only have the day 3 files that we're working on here. So if we go live on this, now we can open up news.html and see everything.
Is that mine?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Now, while I have you, let's get this fixed up at the top.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
So the problem is that you called the class row1, but we need it to just be called row because row is what's defined in Bootstrap.
Okay.
And now you're good to go.
Oh my gosh, such a simple fix for something so I was so lost on. Thank you.
Yep.
Whew.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm going to stop your screen share. You're right at 7 o'clock. Alba, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just trying to look at it and see it, but when I put my H2, H4's headlines, they became too big.
Share your screen, let's take a look. Too big as in they're wrapping on the next lines, or too big as in, next lines are fine.
Like they're wrapping into the next columns.
Oh, share your screen, let's look.
Can you see it?
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, I see our problem. So we've got, if you can remote control me, thank you. So here we've got our row. And that's in the right spot. This is the end of our links bar. We open up the new row. We have a col 3. We open up the left col. We have an H2 here. That's all good. We open our row for the first column, and then this indentation goes wrong. Because this is inside the row, so we need to pull these over. Now we can say that this is the end of the row, the headline row 1, not this. So we are going to take this and put it in the right spot and say that is ending headline row 1. I don't know what this one's doing, but we aren't ready for it to close yet because we want headline 2 to start. But that indentation isn't right because that needs to be over here. So now we repeat that, right? We say, all right, we're going to move all of that over. the 3, the 9, and now this div is properly closing the row. So this one's in the right spot. We bring that one over, it lines up, we're good to go. Now we've got our third row. So we're going to bring that over to line that up. We're going to get our headlines in place. And now this is the end of the headline row 3. What we don't have here is a closing div for the col 3 up here. So we follow that all the way down, that highlighted line. That's now in the right spot. So we're going to just mark that as end of first col 3. And now we are actually in pretty good shape. Things are lining back up, so that's good. The only thing that I noticed is this is centered. And that is because in the
I had put in the center, text alignment center on it.
So if you want it like that, that's totally fine. If you don't, that's also okay.
Yeah.
The only thing that I'm confused about is, it must be.
Just added a right column. Yeah, it's because
Yep.
the thing is pushed down into it.
You're good. So you're all caught up at this point.
Yeah.
Good work. And remember, I would much rather you guys go slow and hold up class and get it right the first time than having to go back through and clean it up, right? Obviously, that cleanup happens. It's not a big deal. That's part of the learning process. But if you're getting your cursors right, if you feel like you are in control of your divs, then you're going at the right pace. As soon as you look at my code and you're like, oh my God, where did all those divs come from? You're going too fast. Slow yourself down. Make sure that you're lining up those divs and that your indentation is right. It seems like such a trivial thing, but it's the only way, that indentation is the only way we can get our human brain to be able to process this, because this is not natural for us, right? When we do a layout like this, the words that we would use to describe this layout don't line up with the way we need to tell the computer to do it. So that indentation is the thing that keeps it right in our brain so that we know we're at the right spot. It takes practice. It's not something that I expect you guys to be able to do right off the bat. Artrell, go ahead.
All right, as I'm looking at my code compared to yours.
Yep.
My lines like 58, say 57 to 59, I need work. So I'm gonna share my screen.
Sure. Okay, so first things first, we're gonna get your indentation working right. So let me remote
Yeah, I'm trying to
control.
figure out where it's. Oh, hold on, let me prove you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna start up at the top. Row opens, we get our col 3 in here. If I highlight this div, we come down here and we see this is the closing div.
Okay.
This line should be all the way down to the bottom here, and it isn't, which means this is properly indented, this is properly indented, this is properly indented, this is not. So we know that because this col 9 is part of this row, but you've got it on the same indentation level as the row itself. So because of that, we go 1 over. And then because this H4 is inside the div, we go 1 over there. So just like this 6 min is inside the col 3, and because of that, we indent a level, we do the same thing here. This H4 is inside the col 9, so we indent a level. Now we come over here and line that up. That's our closing div. Now this div is closing off this row here, but this is indented too far over.
Okay.
So we bring that over to there, and then we need to continue that cleanup. That row is now opening there, and we move all of this over and this over. Whoops. No, we don't. We move that over as well. Now we can keep going here. It looks like this whole div needs to come over. That's good. That's good. All of that is good. Now, what is this closing div for? This is the end of our left column. So I'm
Right.
going to leave a little note in here that says end of left col 3.
Okay.
So if we switch over to here, you are now all caught up.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Sometimes it looks so horribly wrong in the browser that we're like, I'm never going to catch up. I'm never going to get this, right? And sometimes you just need to truck through the code, go line by line and say, is this indented right? Because that's where you're going to find, oh, I've got an extra div in here that I'm not supposed to. Tina, go ahead.
I just wanted to know, can you explain, okay, so line 42 and 50, the difference between like one, you have the space after the end, or after the div, you know, the two.
Yep.
Yeah. Why is one space and one's not? I forget.
So because the comment is ignored, the computer doesn't really care if there's a space between it or not. So it's just going to ignore that space, whether I put it in there or not. So either way is completely fine. So spaces do matter, but only sometimes, right? So if I had col 3 in here and said, I want to also add, I don't know, text dash center. If I don't have a space in here, that's going to matter. Well, why is that going to matter? Because I'm inside these quotes here. That space is saying, hey, there's another class coming, as opposed to saying this is one big class called col 3 text center. So spaces matter sometimes, they would matter there, but they don't matter here because the browser's like, okay, you're just trying to separate out your code. You're trying to make it a little bit easier to read. The other place that spaces wouldn't matter is if I wanted to, I could separate out these rows a little bit. If that makes the code easier for you to read, you can totally leave those spaces in there. That's completely fine. Now, as soon as I put something on that line and say hello, that's obviously going to change the code. But when I leave those spaces in there, if that makes the code easier for you to read, and you can do that wherever you want, you can separate out these. And you can even do multiples if you wanted to. If that makes the code easier for you to read, you're welcome to do that. It is not typical to see more than one empty line in your code, though. So this is a little weird having it spaced out to this level. But if that's what's going to help you understand where the different sections of the code are, then go for it. Go ahead and leave those spaces in. When we start using our formatter called Prettier, it won't let you leave those spaces in. It is called an opinionated formatter. It has a very strong way of thinking what your indentation should be and your line break should be, and it will remove them for you. But for now, as you're working your way up to using a tool like that, if separating it out for you helps, go ahead and do that.
Thank you.
No problem. All right. We only have 12 votes in the poll. I am hoping that if we go on break and come back at 7:30, we will be good to keep on going here. But if you are stuck anywhere, go ahead and raise your hand. And after the break, we will come back to you, get those questions answered, and then we'll keep building out the rest of the page. I know it's a lot to say, oh, we needed all of that code to get this one tiny little section done, but it does get quicker, right? We did a lot of nested grids and all of that stuff in there. So it takes a lot. Elantra.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen because I just don't have the lines. Oh my God, I can't share my screen. I'm working between two of them. I can do a screenshot and post it in the live stream.
Sure, that's
The
fine.
only thing is like the way that the column, like I don't know if I'm missing a code or a piece of it because I don't have the lines.
Is
go up
your
and down.
style.css saved?
It's on there. I don't
Okay.
think they're talking to each other.
Do you
'cause
have
I
a
the same
link?
code that-
Do you have a link
yeah.
tag up at the top on like linked rel style sheet href style.css?
No.
Okay, up on line 8 of in my code. Or I can just share my screen if that's easier. That's
Okay.
the line that you need to get the two talking to each other.
Yeah. Yep. I have that.
Oh, okay, then go ahead and share a screenshot, and I can take a look at it that way.
Okay.
While you're doing that, I'll move on. Go on break, guys. It's important to take a break. If you need to go on break, be back at 7:30. Alba, go ahead.
Hey, I just have a question. I couldn't vote because when I was sharing my screen, remember I put it to the side? I can't find it now. It disappeared.
Yeah, it is a pain to get back. If you are in Zoom, oh, we ran into this last cohort and I can't remember how we got to it. In Zoom, do you have a more button at the bottom of your toolbar?
I got the vote.
So like where you click share screen and
Yeah, I got
pause and all that?
And then I pulled it up.
Okay,
I just clicked on the polls and I pulled it up. Thank you.
cool. Yeah, we couldn't figure out how to do that. And apparently if your screen is tiny enough, it goes into more and then you got to go more and then get into polls, but I'm glad you found it. Okay. You are missing on line 33. You need a quote before left col. So actually, you're missing 2 quotes there. At the end of col 3, you need a quote, and then you need another beginning quote at the beginning of left col.
Okay. So you said the end of column 3, which is a head column or header.
Yeah, so line 33, it says div
Oh,
class
33.
equals
Okay.
quote col -3.
Yep.
You need a closing quote after the number 3.
Oh.
And then you need another opening quote before the L in left.
So why do you think that happened?
When you were typing it in, you probably did your class equals col 3 and then just went right into the ID without realizing that you had to tell it that you were done with the class and starting the ID.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. So it's only supposed to have one between the latest and the middle column, and then that's all supposed to be open.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
we
right.
haven't put in the other one yet.
Okay. I will make note of that.
Yeah, and that will also
Thank
screw
you.
up your whole layout too, right? Like it probably pushed
Yeah.
things down because that col 3 didn't know it was over.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Go ahead.
I think I kind of messed up towards the like from 59 something, the first call and this is more text, as well as I didn't get those borders which you were teaching. Probably I was late to come and join, so I just missed this part. So can I share the screen?
Yeah, go for it.
Can you see it?
I can. Okay, so you are pretty caught up. I think you're just missing a closing div. Thank you.
I did. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. You've got your row, your cols are in here. Then you close the row. That is all part of this left col. You got everything right there. You close the div. Then you have first call and more text. And then you close the call 3.
There is one div missing, I think, so I'm not sure.
Middle call, right call. You actually have everything right. I deleted out this text here.
Okay.
And then the only issue that you have is you're missing that line.
Yeah.
And you're missing the line because you've got a period and a hashtag here.
Okay.
Either one or the other, right? So because it's an ID here, we use the hashtag instead of the period. If it were the class that we were targeting, we would use the period. And then the other thing is be careful on your casing here. So this says left call with a lowercase l and a capital C, which is what it should be. And then in here, these should be colons instead of semicolons.
Okay.
And now you're almost caught up. Why is your line not extending all the way down like it should be?
Because I don't think I calculated those numbers right. I just
you know what?
Yeah.
You're just missing a space.
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Admirable job for coming in late, but you're all caught up now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Max. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.
All right, Max. I was hoping you could help me with a Mac thing.
Sure.
Thank you. So I don't know where all of my my side menu options went here. If I go to Finder.
Can you share your screen so I can see what you're talking about?
Oh yeah, probably a good idea, right? Okay.
We should keep track of how many times I forget to share my screen and how many times students in total forget to share their screen, and we'll see which number is higher at the end of the program.
Okay, deal. That's a good idea. Wow, what desktop am I in? Oh, look, a giant 1 shows up and shows me where I am. I think this is the right one.
Probably. All you need to do is click on the word favorites and they'll come back. The little arrow that shows up. Yep.
That's great. Thanks.
Any other questions?
No, not for now. I'm just gonna start writing them down so I can have like 5 of them instead of bugging you about one little thing and one little thing.
During class, it's not as bad, but that's what one-on-ones are great for, of like having your list of questions all prepared, and then we can just rapid fire through them.
Great. Thanks, Max.
No problem. Last call for questions before I go on break. Okay, see you guys in 10 minutes at 7:30. We're halfway through our site, and the good news is all the hard stuff is over. So for the next...
I don't believe you.
Okay, all the new stuff is over. Now we just get to practice. So we get to except for the images, which we're going to dive into next, which we have a little bit of experience with. We will be able to dive right back in. So let me share my screen. Okay, so I switch over to preview. I've got this image going on, right? We are going to practice going out and finding our own images to use. It's important, though, that we use a copyright-free image, right? We can't just go on the internet and just take someone else's picture and use it without getting permission. If it's your own picture, then of course you're welcome to use it. But the go-to site for any copyright-free images is called unsplash.com. You can go ahead and open that in a Chrome tab or Safari, doesn't matter. And up at the top, we can search for anything that we want to be our picture. So let's do, I don't know, a laptop. And I'm going to pick any one of these. This looks good. So I'm going to hover over it and hit that little download button. and that's going to download it to my downloads folder. From there, I can go ahead and close this out, switch back over to my VS Code, and I'm going to open the file explorer over here. If you have your sidebar there, you don't need to worry about it. But I'm going to go ahead and open the file explorer. That's going to show me my D3, my news, and my style.css. If you do not see D3 as the open folder here, stop, go back up to file open folder, and make sure that you open the D3 folder, not the W3 folder. If you've got D3 up here, you're in good shape. We can go down to the downloads in our doc, click to open it. That's going to show me all the different things in my downloads folder. I'm going to grab that JPEG image or PNG or whatever it is and drag it over to my D3 sidebar. If I see that little green plus, that means I'm in the right spot. I can let go and it should move the file in for me. The problem is this is a really long file name, and we don't want to have to reference all of that in our code. So if we right click on that, we can go down to rename and call this laptop. Okay, got all of that done. We can close out of the laptop tab up at the top, make sure we're in our news.html, and now we get that image to show up. So where do we want that image to show up? We want it to show up in our middle column. Alba, go ahead.
You did, so you copied the image or saved the image as?
I moved in Unsplash or on Unsplash, there should be a little download button.
When I right click it or just on the picture itself?
So there's a download free in the top right.
The plus sign?
To the right of the plus sign, what do you have?
They have mine in a different spot because my screen is really small.
Okay. If I shrink it down, you should still have a download free button.
The button at the bottom of the picture, I had it.
Okay. Did that get it into the downloads folder down in your doc?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Go ahead and share your screen. Okay, so go ahead and, oh, you don't have your downloads folder. So if you go to Finder in the left and drag that onto this monitor.
This one right here.
Yeah, that works. You can do it that way. Go ahead and drop that in and you're all set. But I do want to fix your downloads folder. So if you grab the Finder window that opened and drag it over to this window.
Sure.
Okay, you can grab your downloads folder right here and drag it down to this section of the doc down there. And when you let go, now you've got easy access to your downloads.
Okay.
And then just right click on the file and rename it to laptop or, whatever you want. And you'll be caught up and good to go.
Could you please help me do the same thing?
Sure, go ahead, share your screen.
I was trying to follow along, but I just missed it. So I did this download.
Okay, go down to your doc. And you've got the downloads folder there. So in your VS Code, you're going to open your downloads and drag that image into your VS Code. So drag that over to the File Explorer part of VS Code.
And put it, oops, no, that didn't work. That didn't work. Oh my God. For some reason, I'm just having a hard time with the trackpad.
So sometimes it's easier to grab it by the icon than the file name.
Like this?
Yep.
Just a second. Thank you.
Yep. Alba, do you still have a question or are you good? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, so we've got our laptop.jpg showing up in our day 3 folder. We know we want that to show up in our col 6. So I'm going to delete out the words middle col, and I'm going to open an img tag. That img tag needs to know where the image source is. So we say src for source, and we say the source is going to be laptop.jpg. Whatever we put in here needs to line up with whatever is over here. That file also needs to be in the same folder. So if laptop.jpg is in the week 2 folder, or the week, what week are we on? Week 3 folder, but it is not in the day 3 folder, it will not show up. This file has to be in the same folder in order for that to work. So we go ahead and we hit save here. We go back over to our browser, and believe it or not, our image is showing up, but it's freaking giant. Okay, well, we could fix that by just using our CSS. We could say, hey, the width on this image should only be 100% of the column width. But Bootstrap has us covered with this thing called Img Fluid. So if we add that class onto it, now you'll notice, hey, our laptop is now the correct size. And if we grab the side of it and shrink it down, it's fluid, meaning that it will change the size based off of how big that column is. I'm going to stop there to poll. Everyone should not only see their image in the browser, but it should be the right size. And if you don't and need help, go ahead and raise your hand. Jordan,
My image is not showing up for some reason.
go ahead and share your screen. Casing matters. So if you have a capital L in your file name and a lowercase l in your SRC, that could be a problem. So your image is not in the day 3 folder, which is why it's not showing up. You have to drag your image from the downloads folder into the day 3 folder.
It's not it.
So hit download for free. Okay, now grab that Unsplash image from your downloads and yep, drag that over. And then you can right click, rename that to laptop.jpg.
What the heck? It's not letting me.
Just click on the VS Code and now try and rename it. There you go. And then if you're going to use a capital L there, it just has to match. It can be a capital. Just be careful. You got 2 JPEGs there. Okay. And now if you switch back over to your code, do you see your laptop?
Not sure where that was. I'm sorry. It's right here.
Okay, let me see your news.html. Do you have the image tag in there?
Um,
So you can close laptop.jpg or go full screen. That works too. Okay, you don't have your image tag in here yet. So that's why you don't see the image.
okay. All right, I'm gonna work on that then.
Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, so I share my screen here. Okay, so I have, no, I'm not even showing you the right one. Here comes the code. Okay, so here's my code.
You were showing me the right one. I see my news.html.
Oh, shoot. So I need to put this back here.
Yes. So if you, I can tell already that this file name has not been renamed. So you need to open up File Explorer here.
Ooh, where am I? Okay.
Then right click on that and go to rename. Right click on the photo.
Click. Okay, right click.
And go to rename.
That's what I missed.
And then change that to laptop.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else need help? I only have 10 votes in on the poll. So if you guys could vote in that, just so I can know we can keep going. If you guys are struggling, let me know, raise your hand. Okay. We are going to keep going then. So now I've got my laptop in. Let's pull up our mockup again. I've got some headline in here and some text and some bullet points. So we need to get that all loaded in there. So I'm going to come in my call 6. I want to come after my image, and I've got a division of my code, right? This all kind of goes together, but I don't need any columns in here, right? I'm not breaking any of that up. That's all going to be one big div. So because of that, I can create a div, and I don't need to put a row on it. I don't need to put a class on it. I don't need to do any of that. It's just going to be a regular old div. And in there, I'm going to put some headline like some breaking news. I'm going to put a p tag in there that says, oops, some info about the breaking news headline. I'm going to put in another paragraph tag that says the author name, Max Matthews, and maybe when it was published, let's say 6 minutes ago. And I'm going to put in a UL, that's for an unordered list. That means that I'm going to get bullet points instead of an ordered list where I would get numbers. And then I can put in list items like shocking information. This is a second bullet. I don't know, you guys can put whatever content in there that you want. You don't have to follow me word for word. So I come over here, and now my some breaking news shows up. I know you guys are going to need a break in a second to catch up on that code, but I want to push forward just a little bit to get our styling in. So I come over here, and I compare that to, oops, did not mean to open that, my mockup. And my mockup has a little less room between my name and that paragraph. And if I zoom in on that mockup, this is in gray. It's not in black. So we need to clean some of that up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to say, all right, I need some way to target this p tag. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to add an ID to this that says main col. Then in my CSS, I can target my main col and target the p tags inside that main col. Okay, but there's this space here, and I don't know where it's coming from. Is it coming from the margin? Is it coming from padding? Is it some border that I don't know about? Like, how am I supposed to know how to get rid of this space? We're going to bring back our friend, the inspect tool. So if I right click and go to inspect, what I'm going to see if I hover over this is that orange area at the bottom. That orange area means it is margin. And I know it's margin bottom because the orange is below the blue area. And if I move my name, if I move down a little bit, there's more margin on that p tag there. So if I come over here and I say, stop it, get that margin bottom and set it to 0, now everything kind of comes together. Okay, great. But I want my name to show up in gray. I can't put just color gray here because then every p tag in the main column is going to show up as gray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to this and I'm going to say class equals author. Now, why am I using a class instead of an ID? Because I'm going to have other stories that need to use that same class, that author class. IDs are not supposed to be reused, but author, because it is a class, can be reused. So I come over here to the author and I set the color to dark gray. I save, I come over here. And maybe dark gray is not a good option. Let me just do regular gray. And that doesn't work. And spites me. Oh, I've got a weird semicolon there. Okay. Now I have my author in gray. Pausing there, letting you guys catch up. If you've got everything shown up here, you should have no space between some info and the name. You should also have your name showing up in gray text.
Do you mind just moving? Yeah, thank you.
Archel, go ahead.
All right, so you use the author for color instead of span because it's more than one word that we're coloring.
If it were in a span tag, it would show up after this headline here. So I wanted it to show up as a new line, which is why I made it a new paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah, if we wanted to like color the word about and make that fuchsia, that's when I would use a span tag. But I used the paragraph tag because I wanted the author to show up on the next line.
Okay.
Brandon.
So then could you define an author tag as like object?
Be careful, it's not an author tag. It's a p tag that has a class of author. But go ahead with your definition because I think you were on the right track. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that helps so I like don't mess things up. So would you define that p tag class as like basically like when you're going to be reusing the same set of rules for a specific what I need some like help with finishing that definition, I guess, because like
yeah, so a class is a reusable selector with a set of styles associated with it. Right? So whatever is here is the bridge between your CSS. So here we have our class. Because it's a class, that means we're going to use a period here. And then this author here is saying, hey, anything here is going to get the color gray applied to it. So what we're going to do next is say, hey, we are going to reuse this whole div. We're going to copy that whole div, paste it down here, and we're going to say other headline. And we're going to update that p tag to say this is less shocking. And this is going to be done by Joe Biden. And it was 26 minutes ago. And maybe we don't have the bullet points show up for this article, so we take that out. Okay, well, now that class author is still being used here, but we don't need to tell it the author is gray because we already defined that. So what it means is this section of code right here is now not only getting applied to Max Matthews here because the author matches this, it's also getting applied to Joe Biden here because the author lines up with the same class. So if we come over and look at our code now, we see another headline and Joe Biden is showing up in gray.
Okay, thank you.
So you just create a new, sorry to interrupt. So you just create a new div in order for the next information to go down.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I know that was a lot. Let me relaunch the poll and give you guys a chance to catch up there.
Max, can I share my screen with you, please?
Sure. Before you do, I think most of you are in the live share and I haven't heard any complaints about you getting into that, but I'm going to drop my code into the live stream channel in Slack so you can reference that while I'm helping other students. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thanks. All right, so here. I have this first one, but I did something wrong. My name didn't show up on the page.
Okay, you didn't save your file.
Yeah, okay, I have to get a mouse because this trackpad and I are not getting along. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What's the 26M and the 6M?
It's meant to be like 6 minutes ago and like
Oh.
26 minutes ago.
Okay.
You
okay.
wanted to put out minutes ago, you could, but
No, that's too much.
it's almost like I modeled this after a real news site like ourcityname.com or something like that. But of course, I'm not going to say that out loud and have a copyright infringement issue.
So do you mind showing your screen? Sorry. It's hard to read.
Do you have the live share open?
I do, but it's hard to see both of them.
Gotcha. You can split the live share style.css, but I know that's why we have the external monitors because there's just so much going on that it's hard to balance and juggle all of them.
Oh my God.
You get better at it.
No, I know. I just started imagining not having the external monitor, and I'm like, oh my God, that would freak me out, because I'm like, I could barely see as it is. Okay. Uh-huh. I made a mistake somewhere. I'm not touching right. Okay. I'm sorry, Max. Do you mind if you can just move your news HTML just a little to the left so I can see that.
That
Thank
good?
you. Yeah. There we go. That's what I was missing.
Max,
Yes.
question. So you know how you have your style CSS sheet? Could you still style within the HTMLs that considered bad practice?
You could, yes, it's considered bad practice because if you have a style sheet already, you can just add the modifications to that. There is kind of an exception to that though. With like if you're working with someone else's website and they've provided all the CSS for you and you're like, but I just want this one little thing to show up in red. I don't want to modify their CSS. It's all working. I don't want to break anything else. I just want this to show up in red. You can come in here and say something like, I'm going to add a quick style on here that makes the color red. And of course, that will work over here. So while it's generally considered bad practice, it depends on how familiar you are with the code. And if you've got your boss saying like, hey, I just want this one little thing to be red, and you don't want to get into editing the style sheet and being worried about someone else editing it and all of that kind of stuff, you can come in here and add still like a style tag on the fly.
Okay, because I was like doing the homeworks again, the optional stuff, and I found it weird how like I'd have to make a class, but I couldn't style in line while making a class on another sheet. Like it was hard to work around.
As long as it's linked properly, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, so I probably did something wrong then.
What you could do, like if you said, so you can use CSS to your favor, right? You can say, hey, I want all H4s. Don't follow this, by the way. This is just an example. I want all H4s to be fuchsia, right? And you come over here and you're like, okay, just kidding. This other headline, I want not to be fuchsia. What you can do is add an ID to this and say it's going to be not pink, and come over here and say not pink and set the color back to black.
And with IDs, you could only have like one ID named not pink, right?
Correct. So if you were going to have multiple things, you would change it to a class, change this to a class here, and then you could use that class up here to say not pink. And now these are not pink and these are not pink, but these still are.
Okay, so can you have two IDs but name them something different, or you can only have one ID period?
Oh, you can have, yeah, it's just the name. So if you wanted
Okay.
to call this ID not pink 2 and this ID not pink, you could do something like this and say not pink 2.
Yeah, then I mean, looking at you do it, I just did something wrong on my end. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, let me just clean that up so you guys are not like, what is not pink? Agonza.
Exona.
I will get it.
It's okay.
I even read your phonetic one. I'm gonna put a little post-it next to the camera so I can like I will get it right, I promise.
It's all right. Well, thank you for trying. I don't know if mine is, if the spacing is correct. It doesn't look as nearly like yours. So I'm just gonna share my screen really quick.
Yep, go for it.
And see what I did wrong here. So that's my code.
I can tell you right off the bat what you're missing.
ahead.
I didn't need to hold on. Annotate, that's what I wanted. So what we're trying to put the margin bottom on is not only in the main column, it's the P tags here that are in the main column.
Oh, okay.
So
So
right
this-
here, you need to put a space and then put the P tag there. No, I'm sorry. Over in your CSS here on the main column.
sorry, I gotta push this over. Can you do that again? Sorry.
Yeah, so right here, we want not just the main column. We want between the L and the curly brace, we're going to put a space.
Okay. I'm so confused.
Between the L and the curly brace on 31 in your
Oh,
style.css.
here. Oh, yeah.
Yep. Put a space and put a period. I'm sorry, put the letter P. And save. And that should fix your spacing issues.
Okay. Why do we have to put P?
Because we're not saying
Oh,
take the margin off the main column. We're saying take the margin off the P tags, which is this here and this here in the main column.
Okay. All
Right. So we're combining the selector. We're
Mhm.
saying take the ID main column and take any of the P tags here and here. And that's what we want to take the margin bottom off of.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Archel, go ahead.
I think I'm done, but can I just show you my screen? Okay. Where am I? Okay.
You are all caught up.
All right. Thanks.
Bobby, go ahead.
For some reason, my like my picture and all that stuff is like to the left down.
Okay, share your screen. Let's take a look. Okay, show me your code. And I'm going to request remote control. Okay, so your indentation is looking good here. You open your row, you've got your col 3. Your end headline row. Now, the problem is this div isn't indented right. This div is closing the row. So we bring that over, and then these rows are all still part of this col 3 up at the top.
Okay.
So we bring all of those over. Now the end of the left col, if I click on that div, it's going to show me it is closing the left div, but we've got to get that indented over so that it is actually lining up with the closing of this col.
Okay.
Now we come and we say this div is closing this row right here. But we're not done with that row. We only have the col 3 in. We need to get the col 6 and the col other 3 in there. So this div needs to move down to the bottom. And then we need to get our indentation right. So if this div is closing the left col, the main column has to be indented to that same level.
Okay.
So now we indent, we've got our opening divs, our closing divs, that all closes up fine. Now we've got our right column that's indented to the same level as the main column. Then we close out the row, and then we need to close out the main container div.
Okay.
So if we do all of that, you are back in business.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Alba, go ahead.
All right, I just need to see the ending picture. All right, it looks right. Thank you.
Cool. Tina, go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta share. The lines are all blurring together.
Okay.
Wait, how? Oh,
Can I see what it looks like in the browser? Okay. And if scroll down for me, is your text at the bottom of the screen? In the browser, scroll down. Yeah, okay.
oh,
So we got a problem with our divs again. So I'm gonna come in. Okay, so you're looking good here. You open your col 3. You have your latest, you've got your row, your indentation is good. It's good here, it's good here. If we click on this div, it lines up with the closing here, so you're fine there. Then you start your col 6, and you've got your image in here, and then you say, I'm done with the col 6. But you're not done with the col 6. All of this stuff is supposed to be inside of that col. So we take this closing div out, and now we say, hey, this indentation is right, but now this closing div lines up with this. But we're not done with that yet, right? We have another headline that we want to get inside that col 6. So what we really need to do is put in a div here that's going to hold all of our content of that article. Actually, sorry, it's supposed to be down here. Okay, now we've got the article, we've got the bullet points, we've got whatever else going on. Now we've got our closing div for the col 6. We don't want a closing div for the col 6. We've got more content to put in that col 6. So we take that one out. Then we fix the indentation here. And we say, this is one article that's going to show up. This is another article that's going to show up. Now we are actually finally done with our col 6, which is this closing div here. That lines up. Now we just have our right column. So if we save all of that, that gets you back into working order.
thank you. All right, I really gotta focus on the number of lines.
Number of indentation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't fix that, right? I can't, when I look at your code, it's not just me explaining through. I can't look at your code and be like, this div needs to go up here, right? And that's not just some magical thing that you get with experience. It's going through and checking that indentation and saying, okay, this is a closing div. What does this closing div line up with, right? And if it's not lining up, let me click on it and see which two are highlighted. Is this closing what I think it should be closing? If it is, then great, I need to keep going down. If it's not, and I get a closing div in here, I need to ask myself, am I really done with this col 6? Or do I have more stuff that's supposed to go in it? At that point, I'll take it out and delete it and go from there.
Makes sense, thank you.
All right, we good to finish this site up? Okie doke. We're gonna get our ad showing up on the right, and we will call it a day. So I'm gonna go through these steps. I am gonna try and get done by 8:20, so we have time to review any terms that come up. That means you might not get a chance to catch up to all of this until after class tonight. Unfortunately, I do have a hard stop at 8:30 tonight. So I'm gonna try and fit this in. So I'm gonna start by pulling up I'm gonna start by sharing my screen. Okay, so if I am looking at my mock-up, I've got this advertisement word showing up over here, and I've got two images I need as well. So I'm going to go to Chrome. I'm going to open up Unsplash again, and I'm going to just grab two advertising looking things. So I'll do a search for advertising, and I don't know, I'll just grab this random picture and this random picture. So both of those downloads went into my downloads folder. I'm going to switch back over to VS Code, and I'm going to open up my file explorer and drag those two in by clicking on the download stack that popped it open, then dragging it over to my VS Code. I'm going to then rename that. One of them is going to be called Ad1, and the other one is going to be called Ad3, just to screw with you guys. All right, once we get that done, I'm kidding, that will annoy even me. I'll rename it to Ad2. All right, so I'm in here. I can close out of these two tabs because I don't need them open. I'm going to shrink this file explorer over, and I'm going to say, hey, what do I want to show up in my right column? I want a P tag to show up that says advertisements. And then I would like my image source to show up. That's going to be ad1.jpg. And I want my other image, don't forget your closing tag there because we don't have anything, a closing image. So we self-close that tag with the slash. And then I want my image src ad2.jpg to show up. Remember, these file names need to be right, and they also need to be in this day 3 folder. If they're not in the day 3 folder and they're not named right, they won't show up. So I save that, I come over here, and the images are freaking huge. Okay, well, I need to add a class to this to say Img Fluid. Image, stay in your lane. I don't want you to be huge. I want you to only fill up the space that we have in that column. Okay, so now they're there, but it's not quite looking like my mockup, right? I have some additional styling on that I want to get there. So I get to do that with all of my CSS. I'm going to add an ID to my column called right col. And in my right col, I will say text align center. That moves my words advertisements over. I also am going to add a color to that of gray, which makes it a little bit easier to see. And then I need to space out my images a little bit. So in my right col, I'm going to get all of the IMGs in there, right? No period, no hashtag, no pound sign. That means I'm targeting this IMG and this IMG directly. So let's say I'm going to throw a little margin on the bottom of them of 20px. That's starting to look good. Let's zhuzh that up a little bit more. Let's add a border 1px solid gray. That just gives it a little more anchoring and makes that show up. That I was going to do it in 10 minutes and I did it in less. So you got 3 minutes to catch up if you would like to catch up, and then we will switch over to terms. If you don't have this advertisement section done, don't worry about it. You're not turning this in for homework. This is all just practice. But if you have questions, feel free to send me your files after class or schedule a one-on-one with me, and I'm happy to help. Otherwise, I will leave this up for the next 3 minutes if you guys want to try and catch up.
Did you add a border to that right column? I mean, no,
I did not. Ooh, that would be really annoying, wouldn't it? Border 1px solid gray. Border left 1px solid gray.
Hmm.
All right, I hate to pull you out of code mode, but I want to capture terms and make sure that anything you guys want to re-review, we get in the outline for tonight. Cannot stress this enough. Tomorrow, open hack 6 p.m. instead of class. We will not be in Zoom. There is not a virtual attendance option. If you cannot make it in person, start working on your homework assignment for this weekend that we went over at the beginning of class. If you have questions and cannot make it to open hack, still shoot me a Slack message and I can probably jump in the Zoom room and help you out on any questions. With that said, we are highly encouraging everyone who can attend to attend tomorrow at 6. It is casual dress. You will rarely see me in anything other than a t-shirt. So you are welcome to wear whatever you would like. I guess I wear long sleeve shirts too, not just t-shirts, but casual dress, no big deal. If you're running a couple minutes late, you don't need to be there right at 6. But trying to get there a couple minutes early is always a good thing. See your fellow students, socialize with them, talk to them, talk about me behind my back, whatever. Hopefully I will see all of you guys there in person. If not, I will see you at office hours Sunday, 5 o'clock. You can attend virtually or at the Erie 21 house. If you look at the Lemoyne map, there is it says Erie 21 house. If you ring the doorbell there between 5 and 6 on Sunday, I will let you guys in. And you guys can attend office hours in person, or you can attend virtually on Zoom. That is Sunday at 5 p.m. And those are optional. We don't take attendance during office hours. So if you can't make it then, it's no big deal. Okay, let's switch over to terms mode really quickly. I'm going to pull my outline back over here. What terms popped up that we want to review?
Camel case and snake case.
Camel case and snake case. Lower casing the first word, then subsequent words. The first letter is capitalized. Oh, I got that right. E.g., this is in camel case. Snake case is similar to camel case, but instead of using capitalization to separate words, we use dashes or underscores. This is in snake case.
Container fluid and image fluid.
Used in Python. Used in JavaScript. Container fluid and image fluid makes the width of the image be constrained by the div it is in. I'll put col in parentheses here. Removes the margin the container adds to the sides of the screen if the window is large enough in regular container mode. As always, if you don't agree with the definition or want to change the definition or have anything to add to the definition, throw them out, right? This is so you guys have something that you can reference when you come back and look at these outlines. Because trust me, you get to the end of the program and then you go, I want to do it all over again. And so you start going through and picking up where you need to pick up what you need to re-review. And that's when these outlines become helpful. Any other terms? Or phrases or concepts or things you struggled with tonight, or this is meant to be a review for all you guys.
The author class.
Yeah, so it's not I'm gonna call that custom reusable classes. And we can say we can create and name whatever class we would like so that we can create a set of styles that can apply to multiple HTML elements. Right, so author class is not a specific class that Bootstrap gives us, and it's not something that you know, the browser knows what to do with it inherently. We just called that author. We could have called that gray if we wanted to, as long as the gray lined up in our custom CSS. So we can create classes and name them whatever we want, and there's an art to that, right? Because you could call every selector in your code, you know, CSS1, CSS2, CSS3, but obviously that would be very hard to be able to understand, well, what is CSS3 supposed to look like and what does it apply to? So that's why instead of calling that gray, I called it author, because the author may have his name in bold, his or her or their name in bold, and we may apply multiple different styles to it. So instead of just calling that gray, we call it author, and that way we know when we're modifying that CSS, it's going to apply to every author that has that class on the div. Anything else?
Yeah, so I had a couple. Inspect element. That was a new one on how that shows up, because I used Firefox Developer Edition and how it like showed up is a little bit different than Google Chrome. And then the calculations.
So inspect element dev tools in the browser to help us understand how our code is interpreted and rendered by the browser, right? So that is kind of showing us under the hood, what is our code actually doing? How do we visually see that? Dev visual tools. And then, I'm sorry, my brain is shot. The other one you added was?
So the calculations.
Calculations, thank you. Calc is a utility in CSS that allows us to do math on sizing of a CSS value. For example, we can combine something dynamic like viewport height, which is VH, with a static number, static meaning it just doesn't change, like navbar height.
Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen.
Sorry.
And
I'm
can
gonna-
use
I'm
to
gonna-
control
I'm-
only your.
Welcome to VoiceOver. You must have hit like the function key twice or something and accidentally triggered that. Sometimes you like have something on your keyboard and you realize it's typing like D over and over again. VoiceOver, you can find a way to accidentally trigger that. Anything else for terms to capture tonight? How are we feeling overall? Give me a quick status check, quick vibe check. Feeling like this is sinking in? We feeling like this is going a little fast, but like a good boot camp? Like you're feeling the burn? Hopefully I'm feeling like a boot camp instructor, feeling like a personal trainer, right? We're pushing you a little bit. Bend, don't break.
Small waves of self-doubt, just, yeah, a little bit.
Small waves of self-doubt are inevitable as a developer. Believe it or not, I still feel them. Teaching has been a new challenge for me as well. The 30-second feedback form is there. If you have any thoughts, feel free to capture them there. You can always fill that out anonymously. I did check them again today, so thank you guys for your comments and your feedback. We actually have somewhat of a retreat on Saturday where we are collating all of that feedback, kind of collecting it all together, and we'll bring that into class next week as well of improvements to make there. But hopefully the homework quiz is a little lighter for you because, well, you don't have to do the quiz this week. That homework project may take a little bit more time. If you find that free code camp is frustrating and you just want to let it rip and get it done, hop over to VS Code, give it a shot. It does not need to be perfect. That is the annoying part of free code camp, is that they want you to do every little piece of the assignment that exact way. And sometimes that can get in the way. So if you want to go over to free code, to Visual Studio Code and just code it out yourself, that's totally fine. If you want those guide rails and a little bit more guidance, a little bit more hand holding, free code camp is absolutely great for that, right? So hopefully the homework assignment is clear, but as always, if anything pops up, hit me up in Slack or see if I've got a one-on-one available.
Can I see the last screen for the picture before we finish?
Can you set up 1v1s for help on the free code camp stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because I came across some stuff I don't understand.
Yeah, definitely hit me up. Or if you think it's something that other students could benefit from the answer, just post it in the students channel and I'll reply in a thread on that.
Okay. I mean, it's with CSS elements. It was stuff regarding semicolons and the root element or whatever that is.
Okay.
Something about media query and all this other crap. I was like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah, feel free to post those questions. Media queries we'll get into on Monday because we're going to make our site dynamic and responsive. But feel free to post the questions and I'll give the answers my best shot.
Thank you.
Sorry, I cannot stick around tonight. I'm not sure how long Mel can stick around to answer any questions, but I need to run out. So I'm going to pass the meeting co-host to him. If any questions pop up, feel free to dump them in Slack and I'm happy to take a look at them or schedule a 12-minute one-on-one. I know that is an odd meeting length, But when you're like, I'm right there, I'm so close, I just need a couple minutes, those 12-minute meetings are super helpful as well. So go ahead and grab them if you have any questions, dump them in Slack. Otherwise, I will see you guys in person at OpenHack tomorrow at Common Space.
Can you just put the code for today in the Slack?
Yes,
So
I sure can.
thank you.
I will do that right now.
So hi Mel, how are you? I'm Jennifer.
Good, good. How you doing, Jennifer?
Good, thanks. I feel like I'm really close to having this correct, but it's not happening for me. So I was hoping you'd be able to show me what I've gotten wrong.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, I can't take over like Max, but I can kind of
You should be able to, once you start the screen share gets started, if you go up to like the toolbar at the top, you can go down to request remote access. And then
Okay.
once they hit OK, you can take over and do everything.
Okay, sounds good.
It's the view options, and then you drop down to request remote control.
Okay. Yep.
All right, I'll see you guys.
All right. See you later.
Okay.
Can I see how it looks in the browser first?
Sure. You need to see it up here, right?
Yes, you're pretty close.
I somehow changed my purple giant Gen. I don't know why I'm not getting a margin on that. I don't care about that change. Probably just accidentally erased something, but I thought I had the margins correct for the ads.
All right, let's go here. Hold on, let me try to take over. Jen, am I able to take over here?
I don't see anything asking for that.
Here.
What am I seeing? Why isn't it?
Why isn't it popping up? Did it pop up on your end?
I'm not seeing it anywhere. That doesn't mean a lot. But let's see.
Look me back up.
I don't see it.
Is it not going? Yes. Well, let me make sure Max made me the. Yeah, he can make me the host. Okay. Yeah, I'm requesting access, so it's not coming up on your end. Try to.
No, and I'm looking in all my desktops.
Try stopping the share and sharing again so he could request it again.
Okay.
You see now?
Oh gosh. No, I'm wondering if it's because my it's probably because I can't get my Zoom window. Maybe it's supposed to be on there. No, I don't even see it in the Zoom window.
All right. All right. All right, well, let's just try to do it without me taking over. If you want to go to, can I see what your CSS looks like? So you got your right column. Did you add the margin? So you got your right column margin. You want to put a space after that image? So he says right column on line 44.
So let's see. I've got line 40.
Which one are you following? The one on top or the one on bottom?
I'm in
You
the
got
bottom.
One on the bottom. Okay. That all looks good.
It looks like there's an error on like between 41 and 36 on the CSS.
Like this little squiggle here.
Yeah, you want to put a space after you're the author. So you can put author space.
Okay.
Yep, and then you want to go close out. So you got font weight. So you need a closing tag there. So yep, space there. Then oh, so you want to go like on. So if you go to line 35,
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to put a closing tag there. So like a closing bracket. Then that should fix your error.
Okay.
Then that should fix your error on the author. And you want to go ahead and save that.
Ah,
Did that fix the gen?
it was the tag. Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, your margin, I don't know, that kind of automatically fixed your margin too. The code was right, so yeah, you should be all set now.
Thank you very much, Mel.
Naya, you want to go ahead?
Yes, I'm just gonna share my screen because my pictures on the advertisement side, it's like small. Hold on. Can you see like the screen?
Yes. It seems like your image is like, your image is not showing up. So can I see your HTML?
Can you see this code? Or
Yep.
oh,
Now click on the source. Can you just delete line 84? Can you just delete that out where it says the source, add number 1 JPG? Just the source part. Just yep. No, I'm sorry, yeah, the quote, yep, add back SRC. Then you want to delete AD number 1 JPJ. You see, let me make sure. Yep, now add it back in. Now refresh it. Let's see what happens. Can you click on that image? Let's see what that image on the left.
this.
In your VS Code, let's see what the image looks like. The add image 1 and number 2, and it's still not showing up. Huh? All right.
Nope.
Do you have any? Can you go to your style.css? Do you have any tags on that? Oh, right column image. PX. Can you take out that border 1px solid gray? Not sure why that's not there.
Take out the whole thing.
Nope, where it says the right column image on line 46.
Oh, check it out.
Yep, go ahead and refresh. Save and refresh. Why is that not showing up? See if I can take this out. Go back to your HTML measure. Sit back, baby. Go to back. Honestly, I don't know why it's showing up. It looks good. Can you try to add in that laptop image? So take out the add one and put in the laptop.
Okay.
So go down. Because I'm thinking it must just be the image. Like put the laptop image right there. Yep. And go ahead and save that.
Oh shit. I didn't even click on that.
All right, so that did show up.
Uh,
Yeah, so you might just want to just add some different images from Unsplash, and that should get it working.
okay, thank you.
Christina? What do you want to know?
I have a broken picture on the top of breaking news. Like it's something's broken and I can't.
You want to share this? Wait. I think you might have the same type of image. So go over to the right. Is your image on the right showing up? Yes. Yep, that's fine. You go back over to
It's
your
right here.
Yep, you go back over to your VS Code. And then you want to go up. Yep, and then you want to take out that laptop image on line 68. And then type in the A1, not JPG. And save that. Let's see if it shows up. Okay, so that works. So when you go to Unsplash, so go to unsplash.com. So when you click on an image, so search for an image, right? Go search for any image. Just type in laptop. You want to, so when you hover over the image, you see the button on the bottom right where it says download.
Okay.
That's how you want to get your images. Sometimes when you right click and you save as the image, it doesn't populate. So you want to download the image and then just drag it over to your VS Code and rename it.
Cool. I'll do that. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know how to stop. Okay.
All right. Are there any other questions? Artrell, you good?
I think so. I just want you to just take a look at mine just to verify.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, looks like you're all caught up. You're all set. It's perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Torres Alba, you fine? Alba's gone. All right, well that's it. Let you guys go and you guys have a great night. All right.
Thank you so much, you too.
All right, thank you.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.